Do you wanna hear a theory? Frozen 2 is coming soon. The trailer dropped and I was stunned. It looks so much fun. This moment's opportune to figure out its symbols, crystals and waves. What's with the autumn leaves? Do you wanna hear a theory? Kinda has to be a theory.
Why? Why is it always a theory?
That's the show.
Internet, welcome to Film Theory, where you may or may not actually get to see this episode because after Elsagate last year, anything that even mentions building a snowman is getting the YouTube ban hammer. That may seem like a joke, but it's really not. We'll actually see how many views this video gets. YouTube, just take Elsa's advice and let it go. Stop holding back this glittering Frozen theory fodder. The internet needs this. They need to vastly over-speculate about a children's movie that's being produced explicitly to sell light blue dresses to 4-year-olds. I mean, shuffle, research, deep analysis. So today, as you've probably noticed from the title, I'm tackling a theory on a movie that hasn't come out yet, Frozen 2. In fact, this whole theory is just coming from the Frozen 2 trailer, which, even though it's only 1 minute and 52 seconds, has turned Frozen 2 into the most hyped Disney sequel of all time. And we all know how great I am at interpreting Disney franchise trailers from all those fantastically accurate Star Wars theories, so I'm expecting today's prediction theory to go pretty well. In all seriousness though, despite the fact that we only have a little bit of material to work with, it's actually a lot to unpack. It's also worth mentioning that this theory is going to be building on the groundwork that's already been laid forth by some of our theorist brothers from another channel mother, fellow internet theorists, the Super Carlin brothers, where they venture an interpretation of the Nordic runes in the trailer. I think a lot of what's been said so far is spot on, but after watching this trailer 12 times with my face so close to the screen it would make my optometrist faint, I think that there's quite a bit more to dig in here that hasn't been talked about yet. So today, I'm gonna predict the plot of this movie based on a single trailer because I just don't think I give the internet quite enough fodder to make fun of me. So here we go! Disney's most anticipated release of the 21st century based on less than 2 minutes of footage. Go! First of all, let's catch you up in case you're not one of us weirdos staring at our screens until we develop cataracts. Elsa finds herself on a stormy, desolate beach. She removes her gloves and shoes, then sprints towards the crashing waves, trying to American Ninja Warrior her way out to sea. She gets a few steps each time with the help of her ice powers, but the waves eventually break up the ice and send her crashing back down. The real theory here, though, should be on whether her powers would actually work on ocean water to begin with, since the freezing point of salt water is actually lower than that of fresh water. Which means that if her powers bring things to 32 degrees, that water ain't staying frozen for long, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the magic of science. For the record, let it be known here, I reserve the right to do that theory should the events of the movie deem it necessary. Meanwhile, in Arendelle, Anna looks out her window to see mysterious floating crystals everywhere. By the look on her face, she ain't too happy about it. We get a shot of Kristoff riding Sven with a herd of reindeer in tow, followed by Anna in what appears to be the same mysterious place as Elsa at the start of the trailer. Elsa shoots some ice at purple fire so it doesn't melt Olaf. We catch a momentary glimpse of a girl in a forest before a bunch of leaves shoot up off the ground and take another unknown character with them, ending with the whole gang on a cliff overlooking an autumnal forest with the mountains in the distance. The trailer wraps with a title card saying Frozen 2 and some glowing orange leaves on it. And then Anna kills the cameraman. Press F to pay respects. The end. So what are we to make of all this? We spend so much time with that opening on the beach that this feels like it's gonna end up being an important place. But anyone who's seen the first Frozen should be able to tell that this isn't Arendelle. How do we know? Well, even though most of the Frozen lore puts Arendelle in Norway, a country that has plenty of shoreline that would have beaches, this is no Norwegian beach. Norway is known for yellow, white, or occasionally black sand beaches, not for the black pebble beach that we're seeing here in the trailer. There's even a close-up of Elsa's feet to explicitly show the pebbles. Jennifer Lee, the co-director of Frozen 2, actually supports the idea that we're outside of Arendelle/Norway when she told Variety that our characters, quote, are going to go far out of Arendelle. So, where then are they going? And more importantly, why? Well, take another look at that beach. Black pebbles, rocky. These are actually a very specific geological feature that typically exists in places with volcanic activity, like Hawaii or Japan. And as cool as a Moana Elsa crossover would be, we're likely looking instead for a place within sailing distance of Arendelle. One such place with beaches like this is Iceland, which has several famous black pebble beaches that are formed by the volcanic activity there. This is again supported with behind-the-scenes interviews, this time coming from Kristen Bell, who voices Anna, who mentioned that the crew of Frozen 2 took trips to several countries for a free vacation. I mean, free inspiration, and one of those trips included Iceland. This idea of travel is one that's supported by the presence of the Norse compass in the logo of the film. Now, the Super Carlin Brothers analysis video pointed out this symbol and talked about it a lot already, so I'm just gonna summarize their findings here and link you to their more in-depth discussion using the eye icon in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Basically, this 8-pointed pattern that you see in the symbol makes it initially look like it's a snowflake. You know, like you would see in any ice-themed movie. But this symbol can't be a snowflake, because snowflakes always have 6 points. It's because the molecules in ice crystals join to one another in hexagonal structures. Anyway, most analyses have concluded that this symbol is instead a compass. A compass that indicates that Anna and Elsa will spend this movie on some big journey. That said, our proposed little trip to Iceland's Black Pebble beaches is actually just scratching the surface of the travel theme that Frozen 2 is going to be all about. Anna and Elsa are about to travel just a wee bit further. Let me call your attention to the other symbol in this trailer outside of the Norse compass: autumn. Everywhere you look, it's fall. When Sven's running through the woods, when they're standing on a cliff, when the maple leaf blows through the title at the end of the trailer. And with that, freeze here. This just looks like a regular kind of fall leaf for a lot of us, but what if I told you that that leaf was no random choice on the part of the Disney animation team? If you've ever taken one of those Disneyland park tours or visited an Imagineering exhibit, you know that there are practically no details too small for Disney artists. So when I saw this leaf and recognized it as a maple leaf, I went to work figuring out exactly where our intrepid band of snow bunnies was headed to find these. While maple trees will grow in a lot of places around the world at this point, the most famous home of maple trees is in Canada. It's practically part of the Canadian Triforce: hockey, maple syrup, and bears. So I was like the awesome kid meme being like, yes, a maple, they are in Canada. But oh my dear theorists, we can get so much more specific. Turns out there are 10 types of maple trees native to Canada. So I went through them all based on where they grow and the specific shape of leaf that we see in the trailer to determine that this is a sugar maple leaf. These trees are native specifically to Quebec and the Maritimes, which are the farthest east provinces of Canada. In other words, the ones that you would hit if you were indeed sailing from Europe or Iceland. And if Anna and Elsa landed on one of these provinces, they would be far from the first Norse people to show up in Canada. Vikings from Iceland landed in Newfoundland on the eastern shore of Canada hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus discovered the West Indies. So there's absolutely historical precedent for this kind of sailing route, especially if you're using a magical wayfinder like the Norse compass. Additionally, when we take a look at the quick scene with our 2 new unidentified characters, we get ourselves a couple of other clues that we're in North America. The trees in the background appear to be white birch trees, also known as paper birch trees for their bark's color and tendency to curl up like strips of paper. This tree is really only found in the very northernmost reaches of the United States and all throughout Canada. Again, confirming for a second time now that the trees definitely seem to think that we're in the New World, or like a relatively recently colonized world, because it seems to be about 1840. But we have even more backup from the new character appearances, or more specifically, from their outfits of the day. In this quick glimpse in the trailer, we see a pretty simple tunic with long sleeves, long pants, and boots. It isn't the most distinctive outfit in the world, but of everything that I found, it most closely resembles the Canadian leather tunic, which would have been worn with pants and boots by Native Americans in the northern United States and Canada before modern times. And since Frozen takes place around 1840, this kind of clothing fits the era. There is plenty of other speculation about these characters, from her being Elsa's girlfriend to her having Elsa-like autumnal powers of her own, but from what I can tell, we're looking at a native in the land that Elsa and Anna travel to, one who probably is guiding them along the way to wherever they're ending up going. So we have got a lot of signs that are pointing us to Frozen 2, taking us to the land of hockey and relentless apologies. But we still don't know exactly how all those pieces fit together into one cohesive narrative. And here's where the theorizing goes into a bit more of speculation. But stay with me here. I think based on everything that we just talked about, it's likely that we're about to kick off essentially an Anna-Elsa road movie. And what does that mean? Well, if you're not familiar with the genre, in its most basic form, it's what it sounds like. The main characters go on a trip somewhere. Great, real mind-blowing stuff here, Matt Pat. The real bigger themes of a road movie, though, are the characters going on a trip specifically to explore the ideas of loneliness and isolation.
A kingdom of isolation.
That might not sound like a good time, but these are some of the most impactful and character-driven movies out there. Think Thelma and Louise, Little Miss Sunshine, Almost Famous, even movies like Dumb and Dumber and Rain Man. In each of these films, the movie's plot puts the main characters on the road and out of their home, stuck in a car together. And as a result, the characters are forced to really learn about the other person that they're traveling with and develop a deeper appreciation and understanding of them. Now think of where we're starting Frozen 2. Anna and Elsa are sisters who didn't see each other for literally decades. I mean, sure, they're reunited at the end of Frozen, but they're still strangers to each other. They have to learn about themselves and about each other as sisters. And what better way to do that than stuck on an extended trip where they're going to be experiencing the feelings of being set adrift, where they're going to have to deal with being away from their existing support systems. If you think about those themes, that's exactly what we're seeing in the trailer. Isolation, Anna and Elsa being split up and having to find each other again, being set adrift. Again, we literally see them battling with the ocean, climbing mountains, having to overcome new challenges that are going to force them to grow. Road movies are also known for their themes of existential transformation, basically where the main character's perspective about a culture changes, which ends up changing themselves on the inside. Aww. In this case, a journey to North America and an encounter with natives who may or may not have Elsa-level power sets of their own force Anna and Elsa to change their perspectives on themselves, each other, or their place in the world. One of the other themes of famous road movies is that they don't have a romantic love interest, which also aligns with the themes of Frozen. In the first movie, the love that's important is the love between sisters, and their own self-love, not the love between a princess and her Prince Charming. A road movie carries on those same themes, where we would expect Anna and Elsa to strengthen their love for each other, and not for some schmo who ends up saving them. This idea of building familial love is also present in the title. You notice how at the end of the trailer, only half of the title is frozen and the other half is rock? Well, the title is thawing. And what do we know thaws Elsa's ice powers? Love.
An act of true love will thaw a frozen heart.
Love will thaw.
Based on all of those themes, we actually have ourselves a pretty good shot at a speculative storyline. And hey, we've come this far, so why not go all the way? Anna and Elsa wake up to find blue and purple crystals floating outside of their window, which summons them to adventure. Cue the quest-themed road movie sequence. Like their parents before them, they experience a tragic shipwreck that ends up stranding them on the shores of Iceland, where they become separated and have to find each other, discovering parts of themselves that they didn't know along the way. Maybe this is where Anna discovers her own power, even if that's just the power of her own inner strength, and Elsa has to go through a training montage that puts her power set in its place and levels her up. They're reunited to finish their quest when they discover new cast members who teach them lessons that expand their world and introduce counter powers to Elsa's in the form of purple fire, which clashes with her ice and also matches the foreshadowing that we see in that earlier scene. Purple and blue crystals from the beginning of the movie, which parallels the purple fire and blue ice that we see later. Presumably there's something that everyone has to overcome, and where everyone's powers are needed at the same time, they all achieve new understanding, and Anna decides to stay in this new world, as evidenced by that hesitating look in the trailer, and Elsa returns home back to rule. Or, you know, maybe not. Like I said at the beginning, my trailer predictions have not exactly been 10 out of 10. For all we really know, maybe it's all about finding a princess for every season, where the autumn princess makes leaves fly everywhere, and the air smell like pumpkin pie, and the spring princess just dusts everyone with pollen, gives them all bad allergies. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is is why it's all just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And now that you can impress your friends with your foreknowledge of what the plot of Frozen 2 is all about, hop over to Game Theory, where I have a video all about the Frozen level in Kingdom Hearts that Disney censored. A secret Frozen-themed level that you never got to see because it was too hot for Disney to handle. Just wait till you hear what they plan to do with Elsa. Click right there. The link is on screen as we speak. I need those watch minutes, and you need all the Frozen knowledge you can get. Click the box.